Good morning, traders. I'm Emily Advani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Friday, June 28th. Widely watched inflation data is on tap this morning. This after markets ended another session in the green yesterday, even if just marginally. The Dow added 36 points or 0.03%. The S&P 500 picked up 4 points or 0.09%. The Nasdaq gained 53 points or 0.3%. Bill, let's get into Friday's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, yes. Good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. The S&Ps are higher. We're up 0.35%, more than 0.3%. That's a nice opening. Realistically, all the action and all the the move higher is being coming from the anticipation of the inflation report this morning. When that inflation report comes out this morning, it's expected to show that inflation is actually falling again year over year, and that's going to be a boom for the markets because that means that the Fed will likely be in a position where they can cut interest rates. So that PCE data point, that's really the key market moving piece of data that's coming out today. You look at the possibility of a Fed rate cut in September. It's currently at 64%. And 76 by November and 94 by December. So we will see. It's very likely we will have a rate cut this year. Last night, we did have the Biden-Trump debate. Listen, it's going to get a lot of media attention. The election's still 5 months away. A lot can change between now and then. I wouldn't, put any chips in the market based on one candidate or another at this point in time. It's still way far away. Nike came out with disappointing earnings last night. I mean, they really were disastrous. Not a good sign for Nike. And for the consumer as a whole, you got to think. Walgreens came out their earnings weren't very good, and now you have Nike coming out. Their earnings weren't good. So U.S. consumer a little concerned about. But let's take a look at overseas action, what we're seeing overseas. And, number one is we're going to look at the DAX. The DAX is up 61 points or 0.34%. You're looking at the FTSE's up 23 points or 0.28%. The CAC is actually lower by 47 points or 0.63%. Now, if you look at this in total, Germany is kind of up because they got a lot of encouraging data on inflation within the EU. Inflation's dropping within the EU. And, in London, I mean, the UK expanded 0.7% in Q1, which is slightly better than the estimates of 0.6. So, that's positive. But in France, the weakness is really due to the political uncertainty with the elections that are scheduled for this weekend. So it's very understandable. And then we're looking last night in Asia to see what happened in Asia last night. And we're looking at the Nikkei that, did have a nice little bounce back up 241 points or 0.61%. The Hang Seng in Hong Kong, it did finish up, 0.01%. It was higher. It was showing some strong gains throughout the day, but it gave it back in that last half hour. The Shanghai in China, it did rise 0.73%. So that's all positive. Now, China's got their PMI figures for June. Now, they're due out tomorrow. And, the estimates are expecting a contraction, which could put pressure on regulators to provide additional stimulus for the market. So we want to keep an eye on China's PMI figures that are coming out tomorrow. The Nikkei, let's talk about Japan for 1 second. Industrial production grew 2.8% month over month in May. That's beating the expectations of 2%. So, that really was positive. And then let's just take a peek at oil this morning. Oil is continuing to show gains. We got WTI at $82.18 a barrel, and Brent is at $86.79 a barrel. I mean, there's potential increases for tensions in the Middle East. Due to Hezbollah and Israel fighting going on, and then there's the talk about the supply concerns because the summer driving season is getting underway, and while the stockpiles data have been showing builds, that could change at any moment. So we got to keep an eye on that. But oil trading higher today. That's a little surprising. But that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update today, Emily.
Bill, obviously that PCE report is the big headline today, and we're going to get to all the economic events in just a moment. But when it comes to earnings, in terms of big headlines, certainly Nike, as you mentioned, is the one that everybody is watching. But let's take a look at all of the earnings action that's going on. Bill, give us a rundown there.
Well, there wasn't a lot. There's nothing out this morning really. And last night Nike did come out and they did show a beat of 16 cents, but it was done on lower revenue. And their guidance was just it's just really bad. And then, this morning you're seeing, all the brokers, you know, putting price target downgrades on the stock. There's a number of issues going on here with Nike, but at the end of the day, they released better earnings by 16 cents, but lower revenue on lower forward guidance was really a negative for the stock this morning. This morning, I'm seeing Nike shares are trading lower by 15%, so that's pretty substantial. I don't see anything coming out this afternoon, obviously, and Monday it's really weak. I don't see anything coming out. I mean, next week we do have Stars Constellation Brands, releasing earnings, but or next week's a real low week for earnings. So, but that's what I have for you in terms of an earnings update, Emily.
Bill, where there is some action this morning, as we both mentioned, is the economic events. Eyes are on that PCE report, but give us a look at everything we should be watching when it comes to economic events.
Sure. Let's take a look. 8:30 a.m. Personal incomes and outlays. That's the PCE report. That's going to be the big one. Then at 9:45, we get the Chicago PMI. 10 a.m. You get the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Report. Okay. Then we got some Fed speak. Richmond Fed Bank President Thomas Parkin spoke this morning at 6:40 a.m. And then we're going to be hearing from Fed Governor Michelle Baumann. She's going to be speaking at noon. And at 12:40 p.m. Eastern Time, San Francisco Fed Bank President Mary Daly will be giving a speech. In terms of the PCE report, the May year-over-year data should slow to 2.6% from 2.7% in April. That's really the key to that report, and that's what we're going to be looking for. Yesterday we had the jobless claims come in. They dropped slightly from the previous week. We got a lot of employment data coming out next week, so that was the first one. But we're going to be keeping an eye on employment data moving forward. But that's what I have for you in terms of an economic update, Emily.
Bill, and when that number comes out, you'll be one of the first to see it because you have an economic alert set up to watch all of those economic reports. You also watch other types of news, things like guidance news, merger news, buyback news, shareholders meetings. You look at other catalysts and you look at your stocks grouped together, like your FANG stocks, your Dow 30 stocks, gathering data and information on different sectors and segments on each and every trading day. So, Bill, as you do for us every morning, what else do you see as possibly moving the markets this morning?
Okay, I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 22 higher, 4 lower, the rest unchanged. I'm looking at my FANG stocks. Google's trading flat to slightly lower. Everything else is higher. So, that is that is positive. The big mover on the Dow obviously is Nike to the downside. And Salesforce to the upside. Remember, Salesforce had that, shareholders meeting yesterday. Nothing really breaking came through, but the stock had a strong gain yesterday and it's up again today. So, we got to keep an eye on that. Let's take a look at some of the news that's behind the tape this morning, like Apple. Apple smartphone shipments in China surged by 39.6% in May from the same period a year ago. Amazon, ticker AMZN, they're said to be investigating AI startup Perplexity. They want to see if they're scraping data from websites in an effort to, from those type of websites that are trying to prevent them from doing it. If they're trying to do a workaround, that wouldn't be good. But Amazon, I believe, has a big investment in Perplexity.ai. Google add 110 new languages to its translation module. Netflix, ticker NFLX, they announced new production hub in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Let's move over to the Dow stocks and some on Apple again. OLED panel shipments for tablets have shown significant increases lately. Chevron, ticker CVX, there's a Senate committee. It's probing big oil on suspected collusion with OPEC. I find that hard to believe, but I think it's possible. Let's talk merger news. Nokia, they're going to be buying Infenra, ticker INFN. India, Nancy. They're going to be buying them for $2.3 billion to boost optical networks arm. Benson Hill, ticker BHIL, Boy, Henry, India, Larry. They received indication of interest for a buyout from an investors group. In terms of guidance news, Nike sees Q1 revenue down 10%. Street estimate was 12.53 billion. It's going to be lower now. In terms of shareholders meetings, Trivago, ticker TRVG, Tom, Richard, Victor, Grace are going to be having a shareholders meeting today at 9 a.m. So catalyst calls. I see JP Morgan placed positive catalyst watch on CRH, Charlie, Richard, Henry ahead of earnings. The Q2 earnings, I believe, are coming out August 8th, so it's a ways away, but it's fun to watch. CRH, Charlie, Richard, Henry. But JP Morgan, positive catalyst watch on the stock. That's all I have for you in terms of news sitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.now and see the trial and see for yourself that professional delivers. To that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. We have for us to end the week.
Tough day to make a pick in front of this inflation report because the stocks are already a little elevated. And let's face it, if that print comes in negative, there's going to be a huge sell-off. But, so I'm going to move over to the Chinese sector and look at JD.com, John David, ticker JD. I think there's an opportunity here. There's a couple things here. Chinese retailer stocks have really been beaten up a lot lately. And, China's got their industrial production coming out on Saturday, which should be a little weaker, which should actually be a boom to Chinese equities because that means the government officials are going to have to do some stimulus soon. But I think that if I can get in, JD.com somewhere between around 26, 25 area, I think there's a real opportunity for a gain. Now you look at yesterday's call volume, 9,572 calls versus 7,528 puts. That's good. That's positive. And the open interest is 210,403 on the call side to 130, 256 on the put side. And then you look at the major brokers; they do have buy ratings on the stock. They have been raising price targets, so I do like it. I just am concerned, that maybe we might be ahead of ourselves, and it's going to be hard to pick a stock, a U.S. listed stock. I mean, there's some certain ones that I like, but I'm just cautious on a lot of them. But I think JD.com, will eliminate some of that risk, and I think I will be able to see a gain. And I think that if that number does come in positive, that this one will have a little support behind it as well. So my pick for today is JD.com, John David, ticker John David, Emily.
We'll be keeping an eye on JD.com with you today. And coming up, we will do a recap on yesterday's pick of the day. So don't go anywhere. But ahead of that, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our hot off the press segment. Bill, take it away.
Okay, what do we see here? ECB. ECB's got that policy meeting next week in Portugal, and they might offer some new, monetary policy signals. That's one to keep an eye on. Plug Power, ticker PLUG. Plug Power to receive federal clean hydrogen production tax credit. Okay. Bank of America is out there saying tech funds see $3.6 billion in outflows, which is the largest in 16 weeks. That's not good for tech. Uber, Lyft to pay Massachusetts drivers a minimum wage and provide other benefits. Target, ticker TGT. Target lowers the bar for workers to stop theft. It has been at 100. They're dropping it to $50. That's good. Estee Lauder, ticker EL. Beauty sector is weak this morning. It's Chinese demand is supposed to be weak, and then you have to think about the French elections. That's causing a lot of their stocks to be weak. But EL could turn on Monday if after the election event is over with in France. Boeing, National Transportation Safety Board warned Boeing Thursday it could lose its status as the party to the probe in the 737 MAX blowout after it violated rules by providing non-public information to the media speculating possible causes. United Healthcare Group, they did a deal with the U.S. government to settle opioid claims. They're paying $20 million. It's a drop in the bucket for them. That's all I'm seeing this morning, Emily.
Okay, Bill, before we sign off, Weekend, get to trading on this Friday. Let's do that check-in on yesterday's pick of the day, which was Dell. You were hoping to take advantage of some volatility here. The tech sector has been sort of topsy-turvy this week, and you were hoping to take advantage again of some volatility in Dell yesterday. How did your call work out?
That worked out great. I mean, it wasn't really volatility. It was really like, Micron said in their call that they're going to be doing this enormous 35% of their revenues in CapEx. To build out, and that means that they're going to be building out a lot of these data centers for these new AI servers and, chips. And who benefits from that? Really, Dell. So, it was a good call. It was a great call. It really worked out. I mean, the stock opened up at 137.83. If you remember when we made that pick, it was trading 136.50. So, opening up at 137.83 was still cheap. And then it ran all the way up to 141.42. I mean, that was great. And during the day around noon, I think it dropped back down to 138. So there was another opportunity. I went long again at around noon. And then it rallied up to 140.69. So it was another winner. You look at the stock today, it's trading up 91 cents to 140.34. So yeah, Dell Technologies was a good winner. It was a positive day for the stock and made money. Was pretty happy in one.
Definitely a winner there, Bill, and we will check in with you Monday about today's JD.com pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here Monday and each weekday morning next week at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Advani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, let's go out there and make some green.